Chapter 2: When the light becomes a lie, where awakening turns into performance and truth begins to distort. I didn't expect the light to become a mask. I had spent so long chasing it, that warm rush of clarity, that high of sudden knowing, that sacred glow that made everything feel clean. But eventually, the light stopped feeling like love. It started feeling like pressure to be good, to be wise, to be healed, to stay high. The more I was seen as the one who could hold it all, the more I believed I wasn't allowed to break. The light became a kind of currency. The more of it I held, the more others leaned in. The more awakened I appeared, the more valuable I became. And that's when I realized I wasn't holding the light. I was using it to be safe, using it to be worthy, using it to be untouched. But the light, when it's used to avoid the dark, becomes something else. It becomes a performance. And like all performances, it eventually collapses. The day came when I couldn't hold it anymore, when the smile cracked, when the softness became sharp, when the silence started screaming through my skin. I didn't lose the light. I saw it clearly for what it had become, a spiritual persona. One I had worn so convincingly, I forgot there was a self beneath it still aching to be met. And when I finally dropped it, when I stopped trying to be radiant, when I let myself be hollow, cracked, raw, the light didn't leave. It returned to something quieter, something still, not an identity, not an energy, just truth, without a name, without a glow, just the kind of light that doesn't require you to shine, the kind that lets you rest without disappearing, the kind that doesn't protect you from your pain, but holds you while you feel it all. That's when I knew. The real light doesn't elevate you, it empties you. And if it's real, it doesn't make you special. It makes you honest.
Wow. I love this whole book, and I really wanted to start in chapter two because, well, for many reasons, but I think personally because there's a journey to become spiritual, to become more. And when we set out on the path to become more than something that we are, it's it's already we're on the wrong path. We're trying to be more than what we are. And one thing I noticed is that I was always trying to have that aha, the those moments of clarity, that insight, that intuition, and then I was always chasing that.
Mm.
And so I would love to kind of go in deeper when you wrote this, like where the message is the message, but can you articulate a little bit more like what this means for you?
Yeah, and to walk with grace is to say that it was required to have the spiritual mask in order to unveil what's underneath. And we're born into a world where that's what we're shown. It's not anybody's fault. It's just that's what we're shown because real authenticity is kind of strange. It doesn't really fit the mold. We're kind of put into these schools, put into these things. We're shown how to get in line. In fact, how not to be made fun of. And
Mm,
all of that's from love, but we're really taught, hey, the thing that makes you kind of unique, if you can, unless it gives you accolades or a trophy of some sort, if you can, put that underneath all these other things, and here's how to shine in the world.
mm,
So some of the biggest egos I've ever seen are actually experienced are actually in the spiritual community, and I had to be able to witness that mask in my own world. But the journey is all relevant, right? It's not that we're not supposed, we have to see that part. And in order to see that part, we got to go through that. And it's tricky because in a sense, we're all just doing our best.
Mm,
And our best in the beginning becomes on attempting to find the thing that feels like the high. And in
yeah.
the spiritual world, I mean, there are those things. There's the light show, man, and you leave a retreat and you're just like, holy crap, how do
Yeah.
I? And really, in the end, what I discovered was that I had to let that go.
Mm,
I mean, that was the design of me too. I couldn't pretend it was something that it wasn't anymore. And at
mm,
first, it was very real for me.
yeah.
But the next part of the journey was to let that go.
I feel like I can relate to that so much in a sense where when we start to awaken spiritually, for me, it was like I need to do these medicine retreats, right? These plant medicine retreats. And I probably did 20 of them, thinking that once the next one, I'm going to have that insight. I'm going to have this clarity. I'm going to clear this negative energy. But I was always left chasing. I would come back with the high, but then I would always feel that emptiness, that void again, that now I see I was trying to avoid. I was trying to find something that was going to either fill it up in a spiritual way or make it go away rather
Yeah.
than actually facing it.
Yeah. And you needed that part of the journey to face it,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
certainly not to be dismissive to any part of the journey.
Right.
It's just sometimes we can get trapped in a screenshot of one aspect of the
Mm-hmm.
journey that can prevent us from moving to the next part of the journey,
Mm.
which is the space that most people will never look
Yes.
because it's wrapped in something like nothingness,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be the scariest part to face because we're so used to needing something to be filled
Mm.
or this background underneath message that something is coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, something is coming that's going to fill this void, that's going to save me, that's
Mhm.
going to make my life better, prettier, more tolerable. But the truth is, and what there's so much you express in this book, which I want to get to a little bit more, but is that there is nothing coming.
Because nothing is missing.
Mm. You say that, that feels so good.
Mm.
But to actually embody that, right? To embody that, that's hard for us. And why do you think that's so hard for us?
Well, we're in a time, a beautiful time, where there's the pings and the dings and the things are really training our whole being to seek externally.
Mm,
And so you're right. While we have the little hidden something is coming, we can temporarily get some relief,
mm,
right? Make my marriage better, make the kids better, make the thing go to, just make something externally position itself in a way that I get some temporary relief.
mhm,
And what happens is we do end up getting met with disappointment, assuredly to follow, because externally everything is designed to be temporal.
mm,
And the most authentic, we'll say, peace wouldn't be based on peaceful circumstances. How we can gauge that, like really check to see how authentic it is when we're surrounded by chaos or some shit is hitting the fan. And the
mm,
center point of us is actually the clearing, the clearing for that peace.
mm.
And so the journey begins there when it's really starting to silence all of those things that we're learning to illuminate more. It's so much information and more. And we're never in any of that. It's just a constant, endless chase. And man, is it designed to be quite the lure.
It really
Oh
is.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Trillions of dollars are spent for that to be a lure. And until we get a little pissed off about it, we're still going to just plug into it because it does create the arousal of these highs
It does.
and then lows
And
inevitably.
lows.
But
Yeah.
that's how you go after the high again because it wants you to go low and then high and then low and then high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Constantly being like pulled back and forth, up and down. I mean, using this analogy, when really we can sit in a stillness, we can sit, in this space where we're not pulled back and forth, but we don't really even know that anything's pulling us back and forth. It's just become so normal for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And the idea, well, there's two other things that happen. Then there's resignation,
Hmm.
right? Let me just make the best of this. And in order to be resignated, I have to leave myself out. So I'll take care of the kids, I'll take care of the husband, and I just sacrifice myself because I'm just going to make the best out of this situation when there's a the life force is kind of so dim inside. It's a very
Hmm.
going through the motions. I'm not going to fight it anymore. I don't have any fight left because I don't really believe in the highs and the lows anymore. I'm not going to get my hopes up anymore. So I'm just going to resign. There's that.
Yes, I know that.
I get that as well. And then there's the space underneath the boredom of it all, like getting off the train of the highs and lows, period. And that can occur to some people as like, well, who wants a life like that? That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But there's something underneath that most people stop right at the place where you're about to unveil the greatest jewels that you never knew existed that were right there inside of you. That is underneath all of the accolades and the look at this and where
Yeah.
all those paths are usually designed to feel like we're valid and enough. And so the
Mm,
design in and of itself comes from that I don't feel that I am enough. So I'm
right.
going on this path, this mission to try to get that experience that I am. But the mission in and of itself is all an illusion because I already am, even though I'm asleep to that, even though I haven't awakened to that I am. That's my birthright. I've always been enough.
Yes.
So that ultimately, I mean, I feel like our conversations always come back to the same space.
Yeah.
If you can't be still, you can't be free.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I believe that so much because of all the evidence that I've attained for actually having, because it takes courage to be still. Like you said, it takes courage to go in and be in that stillness because it can, I think initially can be very boring. Like it's not working. Where is it? We're looking for something in the stillness. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the book is that that's it. We're always searching, searching, searching outside of ourselves. And then when we finally turn into that space, there needs to be some clearing because we have to be able to sit in that. But sometimes when we're looking in, we're still looking for something to fill that. Like what's going to come? What's going to be that next high that comes from inside? We just have to clear that. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
There's a death that has to happen for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Because some people can be very like okay with life
Hmm.
and still not peak inside of
Yeah.
you of the like really never have connected to the truth of you because sometimes we just don't even know how to like what do you mean what are you talking about how do I even access that
Hmm.
because we're so used to getting our information outside of ourselves and we forget that all truths everything is always been inside of us and
Hmm.
so in order to crack open the door I guess to the internal
Yeah.
world that's really where the valuable conversations lie.
Hmm.
Not in if you ever come to a point where you're feeling attached to what somebody's saying and treating that like gold, where it's actually disconnecting you from the door inside. Those
Mm,
are all kind of, and a lot of things are set up that way to keep you kind of hooked, right? That
yeah.
internal compass usually will alert us to those things, and it's not always logical. That internal compass is often not, but the feeling that it gives you is enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it takes awareness, stillness to even be aware of that internal compass, which is, I think we could call it intuition, we can call it like that gut feeling, but unless we like really connect to that, we can just we're still being pushed and pulled, from the external world, and we're never really going inside. And that's been such a topic of conversation in the podcast that I've been doing, and is that we have everything within us already, but it's this external world that keeps us hooked, and just to go in through that doorway. So let's talk about that a little bit. More valuable conversation, like how do we crack open that door? How do we turn ourselves away from this external, movie that's really compelling, and start to go in where it's not, maybe not as compelling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And that really is the rite of passage right there, right? Because usually we're used to doing something to get something. Like, I'm going to
Yes.
do this thing, and in return, you got to give me this thing. And that
Mhm.
needs to make logical sense to me. Otherwise, why would I go there? What would give
Yes.
me the thing that I need to go there? There's too many things out here that I need to do, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I would say it's almost a requirement to finally get for yourself that, and that's your own discovery, not because I'm saying it, not because you're saying it, that what I thought I was looking for isn't there. But I needed to get that for myself. Nobody could have just told me that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's why one of my favorite quotes is, a guy who had it all, Jim Carrey had it all. And he would say, one of the things that he says is like, I hope that you get everything that you think you want. I really hope that for you so that you could see that that's not it. So I think that's part of the journey. And so until we're slightly, get to that point where you kind of go, what am I doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we, and you got to follow the lure a little bit. Go to all the marketing meetings, go to the rah-rah meetings, or events, and get that little rush. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to take on the world. And oftentimes, the part of you that's going to take on the world is the part of you that's attempting to be seen as enough.
Mm.
So you go and you get the things and you go to the places, and really the only thing that gets illuminated is the voice that started it all, that I'm not enough. And so,
Yes.
yeah. So it's just endless ladder to climb, and you finally go, oh God, I think I want to move to the cottage in the middle to
Yeah.
plant some
I'll live in a cave
tomatoes.
somewhere.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
the start. It has to start to make sense, and it has that whisper come to you at
mhm.
all. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think those internal compasses just in the day that we're in the extreme of the polarity,
Hmm.
right? There's two pools. There's the pool of the lure of the news and the things. I'm not making that not real, and I'm not making me not have compassion towards that. It's just one pool of life, and it's just so strong, and and then money and the accolades and being enough and all the things. And then there's just something else.
Yeah.
And that doesn't give you a lot of logical explanation to it. It's just that's something else. And
Hmm.
when that call happens, it's inevitable. It guides us. And that saying, when you're ready, the teacher will appear, and the teacher can come in. And there's not one way to open the door. The door starts to open. It starts to guide you down that path, which is to say what you're interested in, like
Hmm.
what you're drawn to. Like, okay, let me go experience this thing that's new.
Mm.
And that's what we do less and less,
Yes.
right? The longer you live, the less and less we have new experiences.
Mm. That's so true.
And we stay in our comfort zones. And that's why a lot of times when you get a lot older, you don't want to do anything because that muscle really never got worked at all. And so the
Hmm.
bubble is just so appealing, not a diss, just to say that all of this sort of life this real true life, the things that are of the truest value are often hidden in the things and the spaces that most people never look, because it's not like you get a big applause, or it's usually the things you're not getting on camera to show on social media.
Yes.
It's those spaces and places, but you're the one that knows it's true.
Mm, mm. Yeah, externally, it doesn't make logical sense, especially as a mother, when you have all these things to do, all these people to take care of, and that's your life, as you're just on this hamster wheel, and it doesn't make sense to go and sit somewhere and be still when you're just, there's so much, and but it's the most magical portal. It's like I think hippie moms get this, and because we are swimming, I didn't say upstream, but we are doing things differently, because all of the things that everyone's doing, we see kind of where that leads. And I think that's where I really understood that. I got to the point where, like you, I was seeking, 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 and nothing ever filled that up externally. Nothing ever did. And I think there was resignation. I know exactly what you mean by that. And eventually there was no other place to go. It was like, well, nothing logical works anyway. So why don't we try some things that are not logical? And that was really for me, like you said, like you eventually, it's the journey. You have to get there. And just because someone says it doesn't mean it's true, but it depends on where you are. And I can't say this enough, I mean, that really is eventually the only place to go, because we can't find what we're looking for out here and in
Yeah.
other people and in our families.
Yeah, it's really inevitable, honestly, and inevitable. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you. This isn't about some kind of race or
Yeah.
a new way of telling you you're not enough, because where you are is always the perfect space.
Mm-hmm.
I was in this conversation the other day where when you screenshot your life, right, there's things that happen and we can say, oh man, my childhood was this, this, and this, and you screenshot that part and you kind of maybe hook yourself to that one photo.
Yeah.
But where the gold is you take the whole tapestry
Mm.
and you kind of go, oh my God, it's all connected in these most precise divine ways. If I was just to kind of take this wider view of the tapestry, that led to that discovery, and this led to this
Mm.
discovery, this led to this. But sometimes we get fixated on just one snap of something and it locks us in. When really you're just one now away from going, wait a minute. You need just
Mm.
enough stillness to start to see that how it's also divine. And I say that because right now you're exactly always where you're supposed to be. You're not, this isn't a conversation you're supposed to be somewhere other than you where you are. It's the recognition that you've always, nothing's ever been missing. And
Mm.
I'm led to tell you what my great grandfather said on his deathbed, which was like so profound. In his dying breath, he said, everything is nothing. And what he meant, what he finally got, and it wasn't too late, he got it. That all that hunt, all that stuff, everything I poured my whole life into, and now I finally see the truth.
Mm.
That wasn't it?
Wow. Gosh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Profound. So I think this is the perfect segue into the book,
Mm.
which we did read some of, obviously. The Edge of God. First, I'd love for you to kind of walk me through, like, how the book came through, why you named it The Edge of God. Like, let's talk a little bit about this creation that
Yeah.
you that's come through.
Eh, everything's really just about timing, and there's this group that we meditate every 2 weeks called Remember to Remember. It's not there to teach you, it's simply a reminder. And then we all get to go to the internal world together. And inside of that, I'm honored to hold space and speak for it, but it's owned by nobody. It's just all of us gathering to stay in that remembrance and keep it activated. And through that, there are some truths that just come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And inside of that space was really when there was a, a truth around how we walk the edge of life. And upon that edge, we either sort of go into the great unknown, and that's this sort of becoming the flow and the force of life, or going back into our habitual patterns. And what is it to be the edge walker? What is that to be in awareness that here I am at the edge? I'm at the edge of my known world. I'm at the edge and I know the loop and I can do it again. Listen, take it as long as you need, do it as many times as you need. But here I am standing at the edge and I already know that.
Yeah.
I've done it a million times over, sometimes different scenes, but the same freaking theme inside of these, like
Yes.
going, and I'm so bored. I'm over it. God damn it.
Go
No.
over it.
I'm over it. And that edge, that's the edge. And that was really when what was birthing the edge of God. And that's really the when we take all the noise out of the stories and the places and the themes and the scenes and the names and the identities, even of my own self, there's one truth that remains. There's just one, and it's the one that's always constant. It doesn't age. So it was there when I was born. It was there when I was 5. It was there. It was constantly there. And the deeper I went inside, the stronger the truth. And this
Mm-hmm.
book really represents, and I'm not asking anyone to get on board with what I discovered as true.
Yeah.
I just honored that truth. And it seems to be relatable truth.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, it was an expression untethered to how it was being perceived.
Mm. Mm. I don't want to simplify it, but in a sense, I do because obviously being in the collective and in the meditation groups and having the opportunity and honor to read it, what I believe it showed me was one that I am already that which I seek. I'm already that which I'm trying to make better. Like I'm already the best version of me. I'm already that. That nothing's missing. Like that nothing is really missing and that nothing, I think there's one passage that nothing needs to be added and nothing needs to be taken away. And there for me it helped me realize that this like level of comfort in the present moment. And I don't know how else to express that, but there was almost like this rest and relaxation as I read it that because I, like many people, and like you, Ange, I know, have spent the majority of my life seeking what is it that's going to complete me?
Yeah.
And what I think is the most beautiful paradox is that I've always been complete. There is nothing to complete.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that in so many ways, this again just kind of helped helped me see that in a way because it is written as poetry
Yeah.
in a way, but it's so profound, and I think that it's really not logical too because of what we're shown in the world that we have to do more, be more. And now what I'm realizing is it's always going to be the opposite of what the illusion is actually trying to sell me. And this is really, it's not, it's really, if you, not the illusion, it's like the truth, my truth, your truth. And like you said, you don't need to believe that, but there's something so pure and so profound in here that it really kind of, there's almost like it kind of clears a lot of the illusion away so that we can see clearly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for articulating that and receiving it in that way, because there is an instruction in the book, because it does speak about that it's more like a transmission. And what that is an energy that it's written so that it can be designed as an energy that meets you somewhere and not designed for an intellectual process. So
Mm-hmm.
really when it meets you, it's designed to go, oh, what did I just feel there? And sometimes people run from that, and sometimes people get curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will test some things if we have something really tightly wound together. I mean,
Yeah.
in life, always question what you have so tightly wound together. Like, what's inside of that? If it's true, why do you have to have it so tightly wound together? So
Yes.
there's that. And it's also designed to as an invitation because you say, well, nothing's missing, and you say that, but a lot of people go, well, wait a minute, I have all these emotions and these things, and it feels definitely like there's something off here. Something's really off. I don't
Yeah.
want to live like this. And I get that. And I have a very, very deep compassion. And the book is born from that. Like, don't just tell me tools or tell me little spiritual tidbits. Like
Yeah.
F you in the fire. You're like, it's all bullshit in sitting here in what is very real to me. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to hear it.
Yeah.
So this book invites that space to
Mm-hmm.
be okay.
Mm.
And there's nothing more beautiful than being in this space that feels so not okay
Yeah.
and not really lovable.
Mm-hmm.
Not even for me. Like I'm gonna suppress it is how much it's not okay,
Yeah.
or retaliate or defend or whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
and be invited just that it is. And
Mm.
that's as far as these words can take. The book is designed to take you all the way into that meeting,
Yeah.
connection,
Mm.
and where we hold everything that is true, and not because somebody else is saying it, because you remember.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I really want to speak to that because when I said that I was searching for something to complete me, and now with the realization that I am complete, it doesn't mean that I'm perfect, that I am living life, like a robot. It's like, no, like really understanding that all of me, like you said, the darkness and the light, right? Because I think going on what we spoke of earlier about this kind of the spiritual ego, we kind of shush away the darkness and those parts of us that we don't want to look at, whether that's our anger, our frustration, inability to love ourselves, whatever that is, and then to weave in the tapestry, like to see that that part of us is also part of the tapestry, that the tapestry is already complete, and it's complete because of even those parts of us that we are afraid of, or that we want to kind of push away. And I think for me, being able to sit with those kind of darker aspects of myself and have compassion for it, and not and just to, instead of shaming myself, right? I have that bigger view because of the stillness, been able to see it as it's part of the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I think you do that so beautifully in this book because you really are vulnerable. You really do let us into kind of the darkness of that you've emerged from and that you still hold, but it's so beautifully interwoven in the whole tapestry. And I think that's what I'm really trying to get to, because it's not about becoming perfect. And I think that's why we're so in such disillusion, because we're trying to become something that is impossible to become.
Yeah, and not necessarily consciously, right? Because
Right.
consciously you go like, well, of course I'm not trying to be perfect, but underneath, yes, I'm still attempting to be something other than what I am ultimately. There's
Yes.
some kind of fix it thing in there, and we learn that at a young age. But when you say that, what I hear and what you're saying is when you called it the shadows and these other things that are like outside of joy and happiness and acceptance, and these other things like rage and fear and all these. Well, when we're connected to that and have space for, say, anger without it being tethered to shame or
Mm,
something that we're defending,
mm,
then the anger can actually be just as beautiful as the joy when
mm.
there's space being held for it. Because and that's really the invitation that the book is, again, not because it's not a logical formula. Like, let me walk into this formula. Okay, number one, you do
Yeah,
this. Number two, you do
yeah,
that. No, it's not like that.
right.
It's designed to have you remember something that wakes up, that therefore the outcome of that is that you automatically start to hold that space for
Mm,
yourself. And
mm,
sometimes it can still, have the automatic, like, oh my gosh, what was
mm.
that? And I'm not, listen, it's another conversation if you're somebody that hits people and, like, harms others. I'm not really talking about that. That might be something outside of this. I'm saying holding space, because usually we harm some people when we're defending something that hasn't had space held for it,
Yeah.
or we're ashamed. There's a shame that's so big in there that it's causing these emotions to be thwarted, right? They're not just fully being released, they're being blocked, they're being
Yeah.
buried alive,
Yeah.
essentially. And that's what causes all these really quirky things. But the energy in and of itself, the feeling of these things that we're taught to suppress, is actually, when it's freed, and even in the midst of it being freed, can
Mm,
be like, oh, like I can't even put it into words. It truly is just as liberating
mm.
as these other things that we think are the good ones.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I think that's perfect to then go into the part of the book where you talk about the cloak. Because I do believe that from my experience, in order for us to be liberated in these negative, I'm quoting, negative emotions, we have to feel safe in them. Because if we don't feel safe, then we're going to bring, then and the shame and the fear and that may come. But in order for us to hold space for these human emotions that we're going to have, whether we like it or not, we need to be able to know how to hold that space. And so, will you talk a little bit about the cloak? And because it is in the book, it goes into a little bit further, but why the cloak was born and why it is such an integral part of our collective and of our community, because it really is something that is almost like the doorway into helping us to liberate ourselves from those negative emotions.
Yeah, the cloak was born as a code into the frequency of awakening. Like, they go hand in hand. But as you're saying, if we don't feel safe, and this is it's an interesting conversation, because consciously, that's not what we're working with, that we don't feel safe usually. But you can say we're talking to a man, and he is, really gathering, really filling up his bank account, gathering more and more and more and more, and or building his physique to be very muscular, and you think, and he would say, what are you talking about? Shit, come at me. Come at me. I feel safe. And that's the surface of everything. But underneath, like, what is pulling all of the levers is a fragmentation that happened early on, that I'm still defending myself against the world
Mm,
to feel safe in the world, because I forgot that I am. And
mm,
so there's an outcome to that. And again, it's, you're consciously, of course, not, some may agree, but because you may have done some things where you figured out some shit and whatever. But I'm not interested in what we know consciously, because that's half of the pie. And how all of that stuff got to the top of the pie was because of all of these things being pulled underneath that are hidden from our view. We don't know that we don't know them.
yeah.
And so the cloak is something that is not a tool. It's an in the fire remembrance. And for me, in my journey, I had been through a lot of things where it made sense in the moment, right? You're going to there like, okay, and here's what you do. You're gonna breathe, and you're gonna, whatever. Not to dismiss that, but I would always notice that in the midst of when this was happening, when I was being taken over by something that was bigger than me, It just was activated in me, and I was powerless to it, truly. I mean, and try as I might in a million different ways, standing on my head. And so the cloak was really born through my own fire.
Mm,
I held space for something to come through because it was really through my own fire and my own call of
mm,
bullshit.
mm, mm. And just to be clear, it's a mantra that is coded in a way to almost position us in those moments to create space for what it is that we are feeling.
Yes.
Because our tendency is to stop it, to bury it, to put whipped cream on it, to oppress it, whatever it is. We have all these tactics to make it go away, yet it's there to show us something. It's there to, I believe, to help us heal and to really become liberated from it. And so this actually is coded in a way where it creates a space so that it can be liberated, so that it can move through us in a way that it helps us be free from the
Yes.
grip and the hold of those triggers that,
Yes.
yeah, that just,
And so to speak to that,
yeah.
because sometimes what happens is we get good at figuring out how to make the feeling dormant again.
Yes.
And we have been coached into thinking that that is how we manage it. But
Mm-hmm.
really, all feelings that are treated in that way just get buried alive, and they're just waiting for another scene to be
Mm-hmm.
activated again. So first and foremost, it's really important to understand that thinking that we can control our emotions, no offense, because this was me too, is a form of arrogance
Yeah.
because you're not causing your emotions. You're just taking enough space to witness what it is that you're feeling.
Mm,
So you and I could close our eyes right now and just rest in a breath and check to see how we feel. And we don't right now in this moment fully know how we feel until we go and connect with how we feel. We might go, I feel a little sadness. I didn't even realize I did, until you connect to it.
yeah.
So this is a way of fully connecting with the truth. And it also calls out the side of us that's connecting only to get a certain outcome, which is
Mm,
very, very important because that's tricky. That's like when your parents came up to you, you're a kid, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna hug you, you're good, you're good, but you better get your shit together. Okay, I'm
yeah.
gonna love you, but
Yeah.
you better get your shit together. It's always like this conditional, it's nobody's
Mhm.
fault, but that's just how we're taught. So
Yeah.
we become very conditional with ourselves, like, okay, I'm gonna connect, but you better fix what's going on in here, And so
Yeah.
it's designed to get you to hold it exactly as it is and
Mm,
finally get that you don't have control. And then you get to allow something way more intelligent. I mean, way more intelligent
hmm.
to do its thing it's your birthright. It already knows how to handle all those things, but we gotta get out of the way. And we're so used to interfering. And we're
Yes.
even calling it I've learned all these tools. I'm doing it. But we truly, you're managing it and you're managing them to go dormant. If
Hmm.
we were to be so real,
Yeah.
there it is again.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna talk about it anymore, but there it is again. I thought I cleared this at the last retreat.
Like, damn it. Oh, I need another retreat. I love that. I love that so much. I love that. And I believe it continuously points to the power that we have internally, the power that we already are, and we've simply forgotten it because we weren't shown it, we weren't taught it. We're all conditions of our upbringing, of the world, of society, yet there comes a time in our lives, and maybe this is a time for the listener, where you're at your wit's end and you're ready to go in and you're ready for something different, something new. And innately, I do believe humans, like there is this knowing that it's inside, but it's like, how do we access it?
Yeah.
And and just like Ange said, it's stillness. You've got to open that door. I mean, of course, obviously you're my bestie, but I highly recommend this book. I'm going to put a link on the show notes so that they can access it right away. And what do you think? I can edit this if not.
Yeah.
About maybe if people are called to maybe join our collective.
Yeah, absolutely. I trust in the energy of the collective, for lack of a better term,
Yeah,
that it has its own intelligence, and if you're attracted to it, it's
yeah,
doesn't need more than that. It aligns you exactly as it should.
yeah.
So always open to the conversation around that.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful community where, I mean, to simplify,
Yes.
we meditate, we talk about deep things, and it's about us turning inside to finding our own truth.
Yes, and because it happens every 2 weeks, I mean the sort of the physics behind that, if you will, is you go into the world and that's a beautiful thing. You go live your life, but we'd be naive to think that we don't also get impacted by the frequencies of the world and how intense it is in the world, even if you are, doing all the things. But a force of a collective just comes back and keeps you tethered to the truth inside of you, not the truth of anybody else, not the truth of what somebody's telling you to believe. It's just constantly reigniting that remembrance so that we can keep that awake and alive.
Mm, yeah. It's such a gift. So I love that. We'll just put it out there. And if,
Yeah.
I'll leave my email too in the show
Yeah.
notes. So if anyone's interested. My gosh, Angela, I love you. Thank
I love
you.
you too. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's been a
I
while.
know. It was a joy to talk about the book and get in these conversations with you.
I love it so much. So, well, you don't be such a stranger. Come back
I'm
again.
happy to anytime.
All right. All right, Ange. Thank you. I love you. And thank you, everyone. I love you. We'll catch you in the next Hippie Moms podcast, my friends. Bye.